Now, to my interview this morning, a bit earlier in the day, I caught up with the Environment and Energy Minister, Josh Frydenberg, and began asking him about the defection of his colleague, Corey Bernardi. Josh Frydenberg, thanks very much for your time. Corey Bernardi has now quit the Liberal Party. He's blaming, in part, your discussion about an energy intensity scheme. What do you say to that in terms of the reasoning behind his defection? Do you share some of the responsibility here?
Well, obviously, it's disappointing that Corey Bernardi has left. He has been saying that he's been wanting to leave for some time and that he is frustrated with mainstream politics. We'll just see now how he goes. Obviously, he has a different view to us on some of these issues related to energy policy, but we know that we have a very practical, non-ideological approach where the contrast is very clear between us and the Labor Party when it comes to ensuring that coal-fired power stations and gas continue to play a key role in our energy.
But he says one of the catalysts for him quitting is this discussion about an energy intensity scheme, which since you've ruled out, but at the time you raised it, do you accept some of the responsibility for not embracing the likes of Corey Bernardi enough in terms of this argument?
Well, his view has been that we should pull completely out of Paris, and as you know, we made a commitment at Paris to reduce our emissions, so his views are different to the coalition in that key regard. When it comes to the emissions intensity scheme, we've made it very clear that it has never been and is not a coalition policy. In fact, it's the pillar of the Labor Party's policy, and it was very embarrassing for Bill Shorten and Mark Butler yesterday when it was revealed that Penny Wong, the leader of the opposition in the Senate, said about the emissions intensity scheme that it was a mongrel, that it was a smokescreen, that it wasn't a credible alternative. That's from the leader of the opposition in the Senate talking about the leader of the opposition's key policy on climate change.
I'll get to that in a bit more detail in just a moment. First, though, in terms of the mood within the government right now, what is the mood like? We've seen that disastrous news poll, numbers dropping over summer, a defection to start the year. It must be very, very difficult right now within the Cabinet and the coalition more broadly.
Look, we know what the task is ahead of us, and the Prime Minister laid out a very clear agenda in his press club speech about our priority for reducing the cost of living and boosting jobs and productivity, and that's where energy policy, childcare policy, the changes that we're making in industrial relations, and obviously our infrastructure development program, all of that is playing a key role. But the next election, Kieran, is more than 900 days away. We were just elected less than a year ago, and since that election we have passed 48 pieces of legislation, important legislation, implementing our election commitments.
But it doesn't help for the Prime Minister and the Turnbull government's focus when he is still copping flack from internal critics, and a fairly veiled swipe yesterday from former Prime Minister Tony Abbott in suggesting that he's disappointed more was not done to keep Bernardi in the tent. That was a dig at Malcolm Turnbull, pretty clearly.
Well, I know Malcolm Turnbull is absolutely focused on the job at hand. We've had a lot of successes to date. We need to keep reiterating to the Australian public what those successes have been. But more importantly, we're looking to the future, and that's where we've got a clear agenda.
Coming up this